Have you ever wondered why certain people walk into your life, leave their mark, and then, without warning, walk right back out of it? Maybe it was a friend you thought would always be around. Maybe it was a relationship you believed was forever. Maybe it was a mentor, a colleague, or even a family member whose closeness faded. You might have asked yourself in those quiet, aching moments, why would God allow someone so significant to disappear? And more importantly, what am I supposed to do with the empty space they leave behind? This is not just a story about loss. It's a story about transformation. One that stretches further than the heartache of saying goodbye. Because when God removes someone from your life, it is never random. It is never pointless. It is always purposeful. Imagine yourself on a long road trip. You've packed everything you think you need, buckled up, and set off toward a destination you feel is right for you. Along the way, you pick up passengers. Some sit beside you with laughter and wisdom, making the road enjoyable. Others distract you, giving directions that pull you toward exits you're not meant to take. And some, well, they're only supposed to ride with you for a chapter, not for the whole journey. If they stay past their time, they weigh down the car, slow your pace, and prevent you from reaching the place God has reserved for you. See, the competitor's story about the diamonds was clever in its metaphor, but here, the metaphor runs deeper. God knows every step of your path even when you don't, and He knows which people are aligned with your destiny and which people will derail it. The removal is not rejection, it's protection. 'Tis not the end of connection, it's the clearing of direction. Think back to a person you once lost who at the time seemed crucial to your happiness. Maybe it was painful to see them leave, so painful that you begged for an explanation. Months or years later, though, when you look back with the eyes of wisdom, you see how destructive they might have been if they had stayed. You see how their absence made space for new people who would push you higher, closer to who you are meant to become. You see how their exit forced you to lean not on them, but on God Himself. That loss created growth, and that growth was necessary. But what about the contrast, the tension? Because it's not just people who are openly harmful that God removes. Sometimes it's people who are good, kind, inspiring, even loving, but not meant to accompany you where you're going. This is perhaps the hardest truth. God doesn't only remove toxic people from your life, He sometimes takes away the comfortable people too. And here's why. Comfort can be the greatest enemy of destiny. Comfort convinces you that where you are is good enough, when God is leading you toward great. Comfort tells you to settle, but God calls you to soar. And if keeping a good person around will keep you stagnating, then even their goodness has to step aside for God's greatness. The story you live is not a flat path. It is a climb. Imagine climbing a mountain and having a group of hikers around you. At lower altitudes, everyone can breathe comfortably. But as the climb steepens, the air thins. Not everyone is equipped for the higher altitude. Some will gasp, stumble, or turn back. That doesn't mean they weren't important in the beginning. It simply means their lungs weren't built for the summit you're climbing toward. And you can't stop your climb just because you love their company. If you do, you both miss the view at the top. Each removal is, in reality, an invitation. God is whispering, "Do you trust me enough to keep walking even though I've lightened your crowd? Do you trust my wisdom over your attachment? Do you see that I am orchestrating not just what you have, but who you have?" This reframing changes everything. Instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" you begin to ask, "What space is God creating in me through their leaving?" Instead of clinging to the closed door, you turn and look at the opening one. Instead of bitterness, you find gratitude for the role they played and the lessons they left you with. It's important here not to paint these removals as punishments or betrayals of fate. That's how the world frames loss, with bitterness, anger, and cynicism. But when you see it through this lens, you realize that removal is divine editing. God is the author of your story, and sometimes He edits out characters not because they were useless, but because their chapter with you has simply come to an end. A character's exit on page 50 doesn't erase their importance on page 10. It simply means their role was complete. And the beauty of trusting God's edits is that He never leaves blank spaces. Yes, you'll mourn. Yes, you'll feel the ache. But with time, those empty seats are filled not just with new people, but often with a stronger version of yourself. Where you leaned on their encouragement, suddenly you discover your own resilience. Where you sought their validation, you deepen in God's truth. Where you depended on their presence, you grow comfortable in solitude. And in that transformation, you walk lighter, freer, more aligned. If the thief in the competitor's story couldn't find the diamonds because he never thought to look in his own bag, then here's the parallel. Too often we search for life's meaning in the people around us instead of the God inside us. We think our wholeness requires their presence, but our wholeness was designed by our Creator. The sooner we recognize that, the freer we become to accept that people will walk in and out, but God never does. There's something else here, too. The removal of people is not only about what you lose, but about who else can enter. Imagine a cluttered room. If every corner is occupied, if every chair is full, there's no space for anything new. Sometimes God has to clear a space in your room before He can bring in new furniture. And sometimes what He brings in is not a person at all, but wisdom, courage, discipline, or peace. You might not see this yet, but every removal is a reminder that God's vision is bigger than your own connections. He is weaving a plan so detailed that you cannot possibly track every thread. But if you could, you would understand why some people had to leave exactly when they did, because keeping them longer would have unraveled the design. Trusting this is hard, but trusting this is also freedom. And freedom is what you were made for. Not chains of dependence, not the constant cling to who you used to have, not the fear of losing those you still hold. Freedom to walk, knowing that even if people fall away, the one who walks with you never will. So let's bring this together. Maybe today you feel the sting of someone's absence. Maybe you scroll through old messages, wonder about what went wrong, or replay moments in your head, like turning pages of a book that no longer has new chapters. You wonder if it was your fault, if you could have done something differently, if you should have held on just a little bit tighter. But hear this clearly. Not all departures are losses. Some are deliverances. There's a big difference between rejection and redirection. Rejection leaves you stuck in shame, doubting your worth. Redirection sets you free, positioning you where you are truly meant to thrive. And when God redirects people out of your journey, He is pointing you toward a greater alignment, even if you can't see the destination yet. Think of it like pruning a tree. To the tree, it must feel like loss when the branch is cut off. But to the gardener, it is not cruelty. It is strategy, because pruning makes room for stronger growth, for more fruit, for a healthier tree. And when God prunes your life, removing certain people, it may sting, but that sting is the start of strength. What you may not realize in the moment is that God's plan for your life requires space. The friendships and relationships that can't stand under the weight of where He's taking you are removed for your sake, not because you didn't deserve them, but because your destiny deserves better. Here's the comfort. While people may come and go, God's presence doesn't flicker. While others may walk in and out of seasons with you, His companionship is eternal. And while human hands may let go, His never do. His editing of your story is always for expansion, never destruction. So when you feel the ache of removal, remember this truth. Sometimes subtraction is God's way of making room for addition. And if you hold your peace, trust His timing, and keep climbing your mountain, the view you'll reach will reveal that every goodbye was guiding you here. And when you arrive, you'll realize that what was removed was never truly meant to carry you, because the one who carried you never left.